know that there's something so special about you and me, babe. You got me, you got me, you got me. So just say the words, cause you know what it means to me, babe. When you got me, you got me, you got me.
Hey, it's time for Improve with Auntie, a creative roundtable for aunties like us. I'm Andrea Klunder, your host for the evening. Is it really evening? I don't know what time you're listening to this.
I know that there's something so special about you and me, babe. You got me, you got me, you got me. So just say the words, cause you know what it means to me, babe. When you got me, you got me, you got me.
Welcome to the very first episode of Improve with Auntie, a podcast created by AI. That's anti-intelligence to you. Seriously though, one day I was taking notes during an online workshop about using AI, artificial intelligence, to write podcast show notes and blog posts. And I typed the URL for the software into my notes app, which was improvewithai.com. And those little predictive/corrective text elves transformed it into Improve with Auntie. And well, they know me better than I know myself. And thus, this entire concept was downloaded into my brain all at once. Creepy? Mythical? In any case, I immediately reached out to my network on social media. And lo and behold, I know a lot more aunties than I realized. And aunts and tias and titis. And it turns out when you get all of us together, we have a lot to talk about. In each session of Improve with Auntie, you will get to listen in on a roundtable conversation that has never been had before and will never happen again, with a revolving roster of folks who, regardless of actual chosen title, find themselves in the oh-so-important and not nearly lauded enough role of aunt to someone or someones from babies through adult age. We are bringing you stories, debates, advice, and hopefully more than a few chuckles along the way. In this episode, you will have the honor to hear from Ashley Lana Scott, Caren Evers, Lisa Brown, and myself. Let me tell you a little bit about these awesome aunties. Ashley is a visual artist and mental health advocate in Chicago. She's been part of my community of creative women for what seems like forever now, and I love her energy and ability to keep things real. I met Caren back in my theater and film days. She's been an actor, writer, filmmaker, banker, I know, and most importantly, a wondrous wine-drinking, life-commiserating, dream-weaving friend for many, many years. Lisa, I've never actually met in person. She's been a part of my creative community of women, same as Ashley, who have been meeting over Zoom since the start of this whole COVID-19 pandemic. When I say we are bringing advice on this show, Lisa is the queen. She always has some valuable insight, encouraging words, and a clever resource or five up her sleeve. Today, we are talking winter holidays, traditions, and gifts. And P.S., be sure to follow us on Instagram at Improve with Auntie for pics of some of our fave auntie gifts. Be sure to stay tuned because we've got gift ideas, a proud auntie moment, and even some auntie fails coming up for you. Of course, you can get the links for any fun things we mention in the show notes, in the description in your app, and at improvewithauntie.com. This podcast is incredible in and of itself, a true gift for your ears. And yet, we have even more fun surprises and opportunities to connect coming your way soon. You'll want to be on our cool auntie email list so that you'll be the first to know when they're ready at bit.ly/cool auntie list. That's bit.ly/cool auntie with an IE list. Linked for you oh so conveniently in the show notes. Okay, that's way more talking than I wanted to do at the top of this episode. Now allow me to introduce you to the aunties. Aunties, are we ready to record?
We are.
All right, we are officially recording, and I want to welcome everybody to Improve with Auntie. I'm Andrea, and I am the auntie of 3 little girls. 2 are twins, and they are 1, and 1 is their big sister, and she is 4. So the twins are, I will be referring to them as FM and Elsie, and the 4-year-old will be Riv. And they are at, well, the 1-year-olds don't talk. Let's be real. But the 4-year-old is at the age where she tells me everything that's on her mind.
Yeah, she does nothing but talk.
I'm enjoying that as much as humanly possible. But honestly, I love being an auntie more than I ever thought I could. I was just talking about this with someone, how when people become a mom, they always say, oh, everything changed when I became a mom and I never knew I could love another human so much. And they're mystified by this new feeling that they have for this other being. But nobody ever talks about how that can happen sometimes when you're an aunt too, where I was like, I would kill for my nieces, or I would like punch someone in the face if I needed to on their behalf,
Oh,
which are not
absolutely.
things that I would typically do in any other circumstance. I'm curious if each of you could introduce yourself to the listeners, name who you're an auntie of, one fun fact about yourself, not a boring fact like Ashley's polka dot shirt, and why you're here.
Hi, my name is Caren, and I am an aunt to two little boys. The oldest is 8 years old. His name starts with a J, so I'll refer to him as J. And my younger nephew is 5 years old, and his name starts with a G. A fun fact about me is that I'm getting ready to plan a European vacation. I'm going to go to Europe for a month, so I'm really excited about that. And why I'm here is because I wanted to hear all of the fun auntie stories from all the other ladies. And so being a part of the podcast seemed like a good way to do that.
My name's Ashley. I am an auntie of a 21-year-old now, which is like, whoa. I definitely had to get my mind around that for at least a year. So I've been preparing myself.
Get your mind around her turning 21.
Turning 21, yes. It took me, since she was 16 to wrap around my head that she was turning 18. So I've gotten in the habit of like preparing myself for things. One thing about that is that we kind of grew up together. We are 9 years apart, and me and my sister, which is her mother, is 10 years apart. That makes sense. The math works out. Fun thing about me, I feel like I am now a Lego master. No, not master, queen. I am the queen of the Legos.
The queen of the Legos.
Yes. Now that I got my first like 2,000 piece set, which I'm really excited about. But I won't talk about that here because this is not a Lego podcast. This is an Aunties podcast, and I'll keep it at that.
Ashley, if we're talking about my nephews, we're definitely talking about Legos.
As someone who worked in a children's play space that had to clean them up regularly after all the children went home at the end of the night.
Oh man, it's horrible.
When you say 2,000 piece Lego set, I just want to cry.
Yeah. My anxiety is too bad to like just have them out. I saw this video where they were doing like Lego set with no instructions. It was the worst anxiety attack I've had watching people pour out Legos onto a table out of the bag and stir them with their hands. Yeah, I can't. Anyway.
I feel like that's the only way I ever played with Legos.
Oh, yeah. But the sets have like specific instructions. And so I think
step by step.
Yeah, I think that's where all of any OCD tendencies that I have, it's all in my Lego process.
Ashley, why are you here?
Oh, when my niece was little, I told her I was the best auntie in the world. So I want to just share my learnings.
Share your bestness.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I am the auntie of two nephews, one who's 14 and one who is 12 and going to be 13 next month. And they are the greatest. Interesting things about me, I studied theater and poetry for undergrad, and I am terrible at both of these things, and I love tech. Oh yeah, I'm in Mensa too.
Oh yeah.
What is
I don't know what to do. Was there supposed to be more about that?
I think it's a funny thing to just be like, oh yeah, and I'm in Mensa.
I don't know what that is.
It's a jerk comment. Like I also you don't want to know. I also put my nephew in a onesie when he was first born, like a blue onesie that said, "If you think I'm cute, you should see my auntie." So I'm definitely like that kind of auntie. Like, yeah.
Why exactly are you here?
Because I love being an auntie. My nephews, they're teenagers now, so they don't want as much to do with me. But when they were little, they were the best. They still are the best. They're just different now. But I remember when being an auntie to them when they were little was like it was a thought that lit me up all the time. I was so happy to see them and, give them things and hear what was going on with them.
I have a fear of the day that my nieces are like over it.
I don't know how to describe it. Like one day I just feel like they changed a little bit, and obviously they got older and they're just less interested in telling me about the things they're proud of and the things they're interested in. Now I have to ask their mom.
Yeah, it is scary. Like, it's valid to feel scared of that because it came out of nowhere with my niece, I feel. And it was like one day I realized I don't know this human as much as I used to. I used to know what she enjoyed, what she liked, what made her happy, what made her sad, like all of these things and everything in between. And then it was like, no, I have to get to know her all over again. I don't know. It feels like another part of work is like getting them to tell you things. It's hard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, our main topic for today is the winter holidays, which are fast approaching. Winter holidays, of course, can be different for everyone. I know for me, it is Christmas, New Year's. I don't know. Does anybody here celebrate different holidays than that?
I always wanted to instill in my niece celebrating Kwanzaa. We never really did in my household. And also in my school, I think they tried to like share about it and stuff, but it was never really like celebrated. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to instill that in her, that at least 1 year of her life, she'll be able to understand the full experience of Kwanzaa. I mean, not like I did, but that's what I always wanted. And it has yet to happen, but one day it will.
I feel like Kwanzaa was one of those things that at some point when I was a kid, people started including it just as like, oh, and Kwanzaa. Oh, and this other thing over here that we have to mention now, but I still don't really know what it is or like how does one celebrate it.
Right. Wait for the next episode, folks.
Maybe a Kwanzaa celebration will have been had.
Maybe, just maybe.
So when we're thinking about winter holidays, there are a couple of things that immediately come to my mind for aunties.
Once you said winter, I was like, oh man, I always wanted to start like traditions with her, right? And so when I was in high school, I got the opportunity to see the Nutcracker at the House Theater of Chicago. And it's really wonderful and very interactive. They have like snow that comes down. It's really great. And they make sugar plum cookies and they're vegan and they share it with the audience before COVID, but they shared it with the audience. It was really great. So we went to see it one time. It was really big. And my music teacher was like, bring Ruth. And she was, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5. She was a little tot. And he was like, she's going to love it and all of this, right? And so she comes with us and they go through the play. She's having a ball, all the songs and all the things. And for people who don't know, the House Theater of Chicago's Nutcracker is not like ballet. It's more like a musical. But anyway, she was enjoying it. And then the Rat King came out. And so they do this huge puppet that needs like 4 or 5 people to do it because there's like 3 heads. And she, like, her eyes got so big and she was like, like crying, like, and my music teacher felt so bad. He was like, I thought you would like it, which he did to a certain extent. So,
I mean, to be fair, my little sister freaked out the first time she saw Chuck E. Cheese and Chuck E. Cheese came over to like wish her happy birthday.
yes.
Oh, those are scary. Your sister was just being logical about that. Those are terrifying.
Now there's a video game about animatronics.
Oh my God.
It's like a horror game.
Have you heard of these people that buy old Chuck E. Cheese bands and like set them up in their houses and their garage and stuff, and then they just play like normal pop music through them? Apparently this is a thing.
Okay, we had, growing up, we had something called Showbiz Pizza. It was like Showbiz, and then there was a Chuck E. Cheese that was like further away from our house, but Showbiz got bought by Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. But Showbiz was where we used to go, and it had that whole band. There would be a performance, and then the curtains would close, and we would always like dare each other to like go peek under the curtains while they were closed, and the animatronic characters were like, it was dark, and they were like frozen still, and their heads were kind of down. It was so
that's so creepy. Oh, yeah.
So creepy. Oh, God. This is what I'm going to have nightmares about tonight, you guys.
So tradition-wise, going back to house theater and nutcracker, is that something that's still going on?
I hope that they do it this year. I really do. I miss it. Last year was really sweet. Of course, they couldn't do it. And they, I guess, you know, because of COVID, may not have had enough time to like figure it out virtually or whatever. They sent this letter that was really sweet. So anybody that knows the nutcracker, the uncle in the nutcracker makes the nutcracker, and he comes to his niece's house every year and like gives her really great gifts. And so because of last year, they couldn't do the nutcracker. They sent everyone who usually comes a letter from the uncle, and it's like written really pretty, and he's writing to whatever the girl's name is, and he's like apologizing but saying like, next year we're going to do this. It was really sweet. And they put the recipe for sugar plum cookies in there.
Aww.
Yeah, it was really sweet, but I don't know if they're doing it this year. I really hope they do.
I come from a really small town, and there is a Thanksgiving parade every year. I went up there one year and just caught the tail end of the parade. And then the next day I was having breakfast with my nephews and their parents at this little diner in town. And it was the funniest thing because my mom and I were there and we couldn't wait for my nephews to get there. And my littlest nephew walks in, and I think he was like 8. So he walks into this little diner and he's holding a newspaper, which he's on the front page of because he wore a silly hat to the parade and they snapped a photo of him. So then he gets greeted by the waiter on a first name basis, and they have no idea who his parents are. They're like, "Hey, Luke." And then their parents are like, "Oh, hi." And they're like, "I don't know who you are." Then they bring him his hot cocoa without asking him if he wants it first. It's literally like they're bringing him a cup of coffee. And they just like bring him out his hot cocoa. They set it on the table. And then they go, "Will you have the usual?" Which is apparently a super complicated waffle order with whipped cream on the side and like rainbow sprinkles on the side. It's specific. And then
it is pretty complicated.
Yeah, they bring out his waffle order, and there's just this silence at the table while we look at him with his newspaper and his hot cocoa and his waffles. And then his mom goes like, "Luke, how do you know all these people?" But that's just who he is.
So when I was little and I would go visit my grandma at her house, she would play this game with me where she said, "I called the M&M man and he brought you some M&Ms, but he put them in the kitchen somewhere and I don't know where he put them. So we're going to have to find them." And she and I would go through all the cabinet doors in the kitchen looking for these little fun-sized bags of M&Ms. So when my nephew started to come visit me in Chicago, I kept up the M&M man tradition. So I would get them little fun-sized M&Ms and hide them in the cabinet somewhere. And every time I say, "You know, when I heard you were coming up here, I called the M&M man and I told him you were coming and he brought you some M&Ms. But the problem is I don't know where he put them." And
oh my goodness.
Older nephew's 8 years old. And the last time I did it, I said, "I called the M&M man." And he said, "Oh, I was hoping you were going to do that."
What a relief.
Yes. Can I just apply to be your niece? I'd just like to. At least for 1 year.
When you come over and visit me, Ashley, I'm going to call the M&M man. So
What does everybody everybody's gift philosophy for the winter holidays?
So my philosophy, I'm going to sound like an Ebenezer Scrooge when I say this, but I don't get my nephews very big gifts. I actually give them money for their savings accounts. I'll get them a little bit of something. When my nephew was 2 years old, I got him goldfish crackers and raisins because they were his favorite food. And one year I got him cheeseburgers because cheeseburgers were his favorite food at that time. So I'll give him a little bit of something, but I'm the practical aunt who's giving them college money and telling them they have to put it in their savings account. They can't spend it on Legos. So
Can't spend them on Legos.
Yeah, Ashley's canceling her application.
She's
So for a while when my nephews were really little, they're such good kids. Like they're good at school. They're really thoughtful in how they talk to people. I'm really proud of them, as you can tell. But for a while, I was trying to get them gifts that would encourage them to get in trouble because I thought it was important for them. Well, no, hear me out. Like I thought it was important for them, help them understand that some risks are okay to take. Like I would get them like old-fashioned practical jokes. So like the dog poop thing or like the where you pull the gum out and it snaps at your finger or the hand buzzer. Because I just wanted them to understand that some boundaries are a little further than you think. Like it's okay to take some risks. And so like I got them, I think, a Nerf crossbow one year, just trying to help them get in trouble a little bit.
I think that's super important. Like a sense of play is so important, especially for little boys, because, you know, starting in preschool and kindergarten, everything gets to be so structured and they, you know, kind of begin to lose their creativity, and kind of giving them permission to explore and have fun like that is so important. I'm so glad you do that.
I think I'm going to take my application. Sorry, Caren. And I might transfer it if I can.
Absolutely.
But no, I think that's really important and very creative as an auntie. You know, I don't know that I learned that ever. And so that was something I just learned just now. You know, I was today years old when I learned that.
I feel like I'm trying to remember back. Like, I feel like my aunts and uncles, I don't know if I really got very good gifts from them. I mean, that sounds terrible, but maybe when I was little, but as I got older, I feel like our relationship wasn't that close. And so they didn't really know that much about me. And so they would get me things that were perhaps thoughtful or nice, but they really didn't have much to do with me or who I was or who I felt like I was. And so when I'm thinking about what I'm going to gift for my nieces, I mean, the babies were only just now at age 1 really discovering what their personalities are like. They're just starting to become people instead of adorable little squishy blobs. But I just try to really figure out Riv's personality and like what she's into. And I don't do big gifts or a lot of gifts because I'm also contributing to the college savings account or whatever. I feel doubtful that by the time she's college age, that college as we know it is going to be as standard as it is right now. Like, I feel like there's going to be more creative options available by then. So I don't want to call it her college account. Let's call it her whatever the hell you want to do next now that you're no longer in high school account.
Yeah. Adulthood account.
Your adulthood account.
Yeah.
Are college freshmen really adults? Let's be honest.
No.
Well, you know what? I think one of the things that I really enjoy about being an aunt is it's a different relationship dynamic with my nephews, that I'm not a parent. I'm not an authoritarian. I'm not a teacher. I'm not setting rules. I don't punish them, you know, if they misbehave. I mean, I got to break up wrestling matches every once in a while, but I can just focus on the fun part of it. And we can always have fun together. Gift giving is a part of that. And, you know, being playful is a part of that. Like, we get all the fun parts, and then parents get things like diaper changing and mealtime and bedtime.
For sure. And it's also really rewarding too when they do open your gift. And even if it's something that's simple or small, it's like their favorite thing right away. Last year we got really for all the kids, but obviously the babies were like 2 months old. So Riv was the only one who was old enough to actually know that she had a gift and what it was. This sounds super weird, but we had found a Tiny Tykes wagon, like a really nice plastic Tiny Tykes wagon. We had found it in the alley and it was in great shape. And so we got it and we cleaned it up, brought it, and then we had, gotten a couple of other small things. And she was so excited for her wagon. She was like sitting in it. She was like so happy. And she did not even care. I mean, we paid nothing for it, right? All we did was find it and clean it. And I was like, all you suckers spent all this money on gifts and she loves her wagon.
Yes.
That's hysterical.
This brings us to our first segment of our episode, which is how not to auntie.
When all else fails, read the instructions.
Cautionary tales for those of you out there, either an auntie fail that one of us made or some sage piece of advice to prevent you from making a huge auntie fail. Lisa, I believe you are going to kick off this segment.
So one year for Christmas, my nephew got a fart piano. It's a keyboard that you can play melodies on, and they are different farts sounds. And I took a picture of him in an elf hat playing the fart piano. And then I asked him, I showed him the photo. I'm like, hey, I want to post this to social media. Are you okay with that? Because I want them to start to think about digital reputations from an early age, right? I want them to think before they post. And so I'm trying to train them to of course he wanted me to post it. He loves that photo. He thinks it's hilarious, but maybe just remember around the holidays that if you get a good photo, just make sure that the kids know.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to think, if social media had existed when I was a kid and then I became an adult and there were all these childhood pictures of me all over how I would feel about it. And I have no way to sort of comprehend that. But I know my sister and her husband, their policy is they don't post any faces of their children on any social media platforms. If I'm ever going to post a picture of one of them, I always ask, I send it to my sister and I'm like, hey, is this okay for me to post? And they're all pictures where you can't see anybody's face. But I don't know. It's kind of an interesting topic. And different people have really strong opinions on either side of it.
Yeah, I also have a little story. So my niece lived with me and my parents. By the time she came to live with us, I was a little bit older, but I was still super, super young. And so when she was getting older, in the stage where she was going online, finding out new things, she discovered anime because I went to Japan and I brought back, Japanese anime and kind of got her into it. But she started watching the anime that had a lot of stuff in there. I don't know how to explain.
Stuff?
People who know... People who watch anime may know what I'm trying to say. Maybe not nudity, but inappropriate content.
Suggestive situations.
Yeah, just some iffy stuff in there. So I would tell her, because she would turn it on. And I didn't think that all of it was bad, because at a certain point there were things that she was learning from it. And she liked the creativity of it. And I would definitely have conversations with her by this age where I would ask her, what do you like about this? What do you learn about, through watching this and whatever. But sometimes she would turn on the more horror or darker anime. She would turn on these things in front of my mom, who is pretty Christian. And I was like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Why would you turn on something that my mom obviously doesn't understand or like? And I don't know, that's just me common sense, but teenager common sense. Anyway, so she stopped doing it, but we were at my mom's friend's house in Arkansas, and I heard her talking to my mom's friend's husband and some other people about anime, saying that I told her not to tell my mom that she watches things. And I was like, that's not what and I'm in my brain, because I'm not over there, but I overhear this. You know how you're like not listening and then all of a sudden your ear just tings over to like a conversation, and I just hear, yeah, my TT told me not to tell my mom though. And I was like, oh my
Ooh.
gosh, why? That's not what I meant.
Did
Yeah,
you
that's not
correct
how.
her or did you just let it?
I mean, eventually I did because it was like later on. At that moment, I couldn't like run over and be like, but guys, that's not what I meant. Because I was in my head like, oh my goodness, I look like the worst auntie right now. She didn't mean it. I don't know that she knew what it looked like at that time, you know? But later on, I sat her down and was like, hey, so do you understand that this is what I was trying to say when I told you that? You know, like I just wanted her to kind of be respectful and not just like turn things on because you know someone doesn't like it or little things like that. But yeah, that was the how not to auntie moment of mine.
And now the moment you've been waiting for, Ask Aunties. All right, this is our advice segment, and questions can be sourced from our collective of aunties here on the show and from our listening audience as well. So if you are at home and you're like, oh, I have a burning question in my auntie life that needs to be answered, you can submit it to us and the link will be in the show notes. And to kick this segment off, Caren has a question.
Thank you, Andrea. And your introduction was so like lively and fun, but my question's actually a little bit serious. So my nephews, my brother has not been teaching them toxic masculinity. He has not been teaching them traditional gender roles. And so one of the things that they like to do is they paint their fingernails with their mom. They sit down with her for a few minutes and she gives them a little manicure. And then, you know, they have like blue fingernails for the rest of the week or what have you. And it's something that they really enjoy because they get some time with their mom and they like the colors and they're just having fun with it. But now that they're starting school, they're starting to get teased for having nail polish because that's for girls. And again, my brother and his wife are very supportive of the boys. And they aren't saying things like, well, you can't do that because boys don't do that. So I just wondered how all the other aunties, like if you've had similar experience where maybe your nephews are doing something that's not traditionally masculine, or maybe your nieces are doing something that's not traditionally feminine, and just how you've helped them navigate that as an auntie.
Totally. That's a hard one. I think that's hard.
I know it's hard. That's always been my question. It's hard. I mean, sure, I can like Google this and read articles about it in the New York Times, but I kind of wanted something maybe a little bit closer to home on that because I love them no matter what their gender is or how they dress or, you know, what color their fingernails are. And I just want the rest of the world to love them that way too, you know?
I feel like kids are going to get teased about something no matter what. And so I don't know if, and I don't know, I could be way off on this. I don't know if being teased for having nail polish is different than being teased for having nerdy looking glasses. I don't know. Maybe it is different.
I think at a time in their development when they are really exploring their identity, gender identity, it's really difficult, and especially being in school where kids are cruel. Kids are just cruel. And for me, I feel like I grew up that way where it was one or the other. And there was some days where I was really a tomboy and I did sports and all the things. And then other days where I did like purple things and I didn't like pink a lot, but now I really like pink. Anyway, so when my niece was growing up, I just thought she was this little girly girl, and we would buy her all the pink things, and her room was pink, and all of those things. And now she's growing up and kind of exploring her own identity in the way that she wants to express herself in the world and show up. And it's really interesting that she has, I don't want to say choices. I think that she has more space than I did, or people growing up when I was, to be able to explore that now that she's older. And maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes, aunties and uncles and all of the other adult people around them really validating to them that these things are okay. It is a part of their development. They get to explore with colors and textures and clothes and different things to express themselves, and that's okay. And then as they get older, they'll be able to take that in a little bit more, even though, school is going to be school.
I love what you said about giving them space. It must be the most miserable thing in the world growing up as a kid and a teenager and not being able to be yourself, whatever that version of yourself is. I mean, I was always allowed to be myself, which is easy for me to say because I'm a cisgender straight woman growing up in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. I didn't have some of the challenges that I know that a lot of kids nowadays are having. And so and it was hard enough for me. And I didn't have those challenges of, being teased or bullied or anything like that. And I just want to help them navigate it. I think it could be a big challenge for them.
And then find the bullies and punch them in the face.
I will, just like
Yes.
Andrea, who's going to murder all the people.
Yes.
Okay, actually, I'm not advocating for violence, just to be clear,
No.
a disclaimer.
Some needs to happen sometimes. I'm just saying, because Andrea, I really appreciate that you said that in the beginning about like how being an auntie kind of does change you, because I never thought that when it came to me and when I was in school, I didn't really have this like hatred for bullies. But when my niece was in school and I thought she was like the coolest little kid and she was really sweet and kind to everyone, and then all of a sudden she's like getting bullied for stuff that's super ridiculous. Like I would be like, what's their name? What's their name?
Mm-hmm.
What's their parents' names? Okay, I know I'm not going there, but in my mind, I would be there in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel that. Oh, hey, it must be time for Cool Things Aunties Do. A time for us to shine in our own awesomeness. This segment is Cool Things Aunties Do, because it's not just our nibblings who are cool and who do awesome things.
Not nibblings.
I was trying it out. We also are cool. And so I think, Caren, you have a cool thing aunties do for us.
I do. So my nephews are obsessed with video games. And one of the video games they like is Pokemon Go, where you have it on your phone and you got to catch the Pokemon on it. And so when you catch a Pokemon, it says what city you were in when you catch the Pokemon. So whenever I travel internationally, I make sure to play Pokemon Go for about 15 minutes so that I can catch Pokemon in other countries. And then when I come back, you can trade the Pokemon. So then I give the Pokemon to my nephews. And I say, this one was from Dublin, Ireland, or, wherever I was on my last trip. So when I'm getting ready to go on my European trip here, I want to get some Pokemon from each of the countries because I feel like that's a good point of reference for me to tell them about my trip and about traveling and kind of thinking outside their small town in Southern Illinois, hopefully expanding their horizons just a little bit.
Going back to our holiday theme, was there anything else we didn't really talk about?
I think one thing that I wanted to talk about was the gifts you get, because we talked about the gifts we give, but we never talked about the gifts you get. And I have an example here, which I'm showing on the screen. It's a block of wood that my nephews wrote their names on with a Sharpie, and I got it and I was like, okay, Luke Logan, but who's Ben? And it turned out Ben was like a dog my mom was fostering for a while.
Oh.
They just added his name to my Christmas present and gave it to me, and this was my Christmas present that year. And they were so excited to have me unwrap this present, and I can't tell you, like, it still makes me laugh.
Why did they give you a block of wood?
I have no idea. I don't even remember how old they were, but they were really little. And they were so excited to give me this block of wood for Christmas that they'd wrapped it in a box and written their names on it. It's the best. I still have it. Like, I keep it on my shelf. I still think about their little smiling faces as they just sat there, like, waiting for me to open this box. Like, it had the most amazing thing, and it did. So
That's sweet. That's really sweet.
I like that the dog's name is on there. That's so cute.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea who Ben is, you guys. And they were
I got an amazing auntie gift. My nephew, he was probably about 4 years old, and he gave me a beer bottle opener for my keychain. Because when he was little, he was obsessed with my keys, because little kids love keys, you know? And so they would come visit me in the city, and I have to use keys to get into my apartment. But in their house, they just have the garage door opener and they don't use keys to get into the house. So he was always saying to me, can I help you with your keys? Can I unlock the door? So apparently, sometime during the year, my brother and his wife took him to a microbrewery just for like dinner or something like that. And at the gift shop, he noticed this keychain bottle opener. And he said, can we get this for Caren for her keys? And I was like, okay, sure. So my nephew got me a beer bottle opener.
That's amazing. Yeah, I appreciate that my sister asks Riv what she wants to give people for gifts, and whatever Riv comes up with, if it's feasible, she just does it. She doesn't say like, well, let's actually do something else. This wasn't for Christmas, but for my birthday last year, I think she originally wanted to give me a turtle, which she meant a real turtle. And my sister did talk her out of the turtle. However, the gift that she did give me, it was funny because my sister was like, okay, she picked out this gift for you all on her own, and she's very excited about it. And I was like, okay, why? Like, she was so serious, like telling me this. And so I opened it, and it was a book, Dancing with Elmo. It was an Elmo book in which you learn how to dance with Elmo.
Aww.
And she was, when I was opening it, she was leaning forward and she was so excited. We've never watched Elmo together. We've never talked about Elmo. I don't know where the Elmo thing came from, but she was so excited to give in. She was like, let's read it. And I'm like, this is awesome. I love this.
Still a gift for you then.
Absolutely. And now, your proud auntie moment, brought to you by Improve with Auntie.
Oh, one thing I'm proud of with my nephews is one of them started a Etsy store where he's selling pieces of obstacle courses that he makes himself in the garage. He's 12, so he wants other people who want to make big obstacle courses in their yard and become American Ninja Warriors. They can buy the parts for the obstacle course from him. And the name of the store is Ninja Nuts and Bolts. And he's making the exact joke.
That is really creative. That is really good.
Was it originally just Ninja Nuts?
No, he was always making that punchline. He makes the and bolts really small in the logo so that it's Ninja Nuts and Bolts.
But he's living the dream. Like, he has taken his passion and turned it into a job and an income.
I know, right?
It's the American dream.
He is living the American dream. Yeah.
And that wraps up our very first episode of Improve with Auntie. What have we learned? Number 1, do not post pics of your nieces and nephews all over social media without getting consent first. Number 2, when watching anime or any other potentially questionable content with your nieces and nephews, clarify what you mean when you tell them not to watch it in front of their parents or grandparents who may not totally appreciate the content. No, you are not telling them to keep secrets. And number 3, you too can shop at Ninja Nuts and Bolts. The link is in the show notes in your app and at improvewithauntie.com. And hey, if books are more your speed, why not do your last minute Christmas shopping at bookshop.org? You'll be supporting independent bookstores, not Amazon. And when you use our link in the show notes, you'll be supporting our show too. Oh, and if you'd like to check out Lisa's block of wood and other thrilling auntie gifts, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Improve with Auntie. Got an awesome auntie gift of your own? A question for Ask Aunties on a future episode? A proud auntie moment? Or an auntie fail for the How Not to Auntie segment? Share it with us. You can send pics for our Instagram and short voice memo recordings by uploading them at bit.ly/askaunties. Just keep it clean, keep it classy, and let us know whether you'd like us to shout you out when we use your question or story in the episode, whether you'd like us to tag you on social, or whether you'd totally like to stay anonymous. It's all good. Okay, last but certainly not least, you've got to get on our Cool Auntie list now so that you'll be the first to know when new episodes are coming out in 2022, along with all of those other cool surprises I hinted at. Why surprises? Because aunties are good like that. One more time, that link is bit.ly/Cool Auntie list.
Improve with Auntie is produced by the Creative Imposter Studios.
We are edited by Maddie Shuchuk and Andrea Klinder.
Our technical director is Edwin R. Ruiz.
Music curation and sound design by Andrea Klunder.
Cover art designed by Cindy Alcantara.
Show notes by Lisa Witter.
Follow us on Instagram at Improve with Auntie.
If you have a question for Ask Aunties, a proud auntie moment, or a how not to auntie tale, you can email us or send us a voice note.
Check the show notes for all the ways we can connect at improvewithauntie.com. Thanks so much for sharing your time, your energy, your presence. We appreciate you at Improve with Auntie.